My client has been married for more than a decade, and they still have some feeling towards each other, and they live under the same roof, but she knows it's time to go separate ways. The reason she called me is because she feels there's some fear or some guilt, as if she owes him something. So I asked her to close her eyes and relax and allow the memories to come up to the surface. She described herself as a young girl, maybe 25, in a street in England in the 1800s. She's wearing a handkerchief, and she's waiting in the street, and she's a bit anxious and fearful, and she's waiting for a guy who comes on a horse, not a white one, a brown one. And he doesn't even go off the horse to her level. He just looks at her, looks down at her, and says, "It's over between us." And she's devastated. So I asked her to explain her relationship to this guy. So she is the teacher to his kids. He's wealthy, he's married, and she is the teacher. And she lives with her mom, sickly, elderly, demanding mom, in a small place, and she goes to work every day. So what was she talking about? It's over? Besides being his kids' teacher, they also have a weird relationship. He is using her as a psychologist of sorts. He allows himself to be weak and childlike in her presence. He tells her things and he cries like a child, and he expects her to comfort him as a mom would do. And she likes that in a way. She thinks it gives her value, it gives her purpose. She feels she's helping him. So, and also he was trying to touch her a few times. Nothing serious, there was never a kiss or sex, but he would attempt a few times, although he's married. And this has been going on for 3 years. And at the scene in the street, he just fired her. So she goes back to her mom, who is not very nice. And then she's very sad. It's hard for her to get a job. And finally she gets a job at somebody else's palace. And she's scrubbing the floors, breaking her back, and she's miserable. At the age of 30, she goes back home. She trips in the street, breaks her back, and dies. So I asked her to get out of the body, hover above the scene in the street, and tell us what she's thinking, what's going on. And she said she feels guilty because she lost her first job and she sort of offended him. So I asked her to go back and tell us the reason he fired her. So she said they were doing the usual things. He's crying and, she's mothering him in a way. And then they notified her that her mother fell and needed her help. So she asked permission to go. And he said, "No, you're mine." And it's quite a hard decision, your own mom or your boss. And she chose her mom. And then he asked to meet her in the street, and he fired her. Now, she really liked her job with the kids. She's very good at it. She's funny. She makes learning fun. The kids love her, and they learn quickly. She really enjoys that. But she just lost it all because she prioritized her mom's health and well-being. So that was the summary in the hovering above the body in the street that we saw. To do some healing, I asked her to choose an option, an alternative, a potential that was there in this lifetime. And if we had to choose that in England, the outcome would be different. The subconscious mind is very interesting, and it does not have time. It lives in an eternal present time, like children do. You tell them in 5 minutes or in an hour, they don't have a clue. They just live here in the now. So the subconscious is the same way. So it doesn't really know that this was in the past, this is the future, everything is now. So when you choose an alternative that was there and you activate it, will be registered in the subconscious as if this is true. So she went back in time, and there was an option for her to become a teacher, a school teacher. She loves kids, she loves teaching, and she's very good at it anyways. So she became a very beloved teacher by the parents and the staff and the kids. She got her own apartment away from her demanding and disrespectful mother. Life was totally different, full of life and joy and being in her passion, in her purpose. I asked her to go all the way to the death scene, and she saw herself at 50 in her house dying of an illness. I asked her to get out, hover above the scene, and tell us what she feels, what she thinks. And she said it was amazing. She loved it so much. She didn't even care that she wasn't married or did not have kids of her own, because she had 40 of them in the classroom. And she felt very achieved and worth, unlike the maid before. And she felt it was a life worth living. I asked her to take a few deep breaths and identify the characters who are the characters in the past life. And she said that the 2 kids, the wealthy man's kids, are her kids today. The angry mother is the mother-in-law today. And the rich guy, of course, that's her husband. And that's why today she has respect for him, as if she's from a lower class. And also, she's a bit fearful, as if she owes him something, so she cannot just leave him. Another thing I asked her is to dig deeper into their relationship in the past life, these 2. And she said her mother used to be the nanny of the wealthy guy. And they're about, 5 years difference in age. And her mom and her lived in the castle. So they sort of grew up together, and he made her feel good. He would play with her and would give her a flower. He was 5 years older. So there was some connection there. It's not really love. She didn't say it was love, but they had fun and respect and liking. And then when he hired her as the teacher, she felt as if she owes him. So leaving today, divorcing, made her feel guilty. Like he actually supported her, and his family supported her mom. So there's a lot of guilt there, thinking today that she should leave him behind and just go do her thing. Not to mention fearful of the consequences, just like in England. So we did some more energetic healing, and I woke her up. Of course, she was shocked to realize that she was the maid of her husband. And a few days later, when I checked on her, she said she feels much better. She feels stronger. She thinks it's the right decision and she has the strength to go through it. She feels as if they're more equal today than she felt before. And she's not afraid of his anger, or she doesn't feel guilty for leaving. They've done it again. She paid her dues, and it's time to start a new life. So I wished her well on her journey, because divorcing can be a journey. And I was glad that today is a new page, unlike the maid and the royal past life story. Until next time, namaste.